All right, Warren Moon, the Hall of Famer, almost 17, 18 years in the league. By the way, you're in Seattle. What's the weather like in Seattle right now?
We've got snow coming down, Colin, and that doesn't happen very much here, but it's coming down, and it's going to be that way, like you said, all over the country. So get ready to play in some bad weather if you're in these NFL cities.
So we talk about this, is that quarterback, Geno Smith. You've covered the Seahawks. You're up there. So Seattle's fascinating because they've overachieved all year. And Geno's one of the more accurate throwers in the league. He's big. He's got a good arm. But then you sit around and you watch your Burrows and Herberts and Mahomes, and you think to yourself, do you have to have one of those guys, Jalen Hurts? Do you have to have one of those guys to win? Seattle is going to have a great draft pick, top 5. Do they have to take a quarterback?
I don't think they have to, based off the way Geno's played this year. He's played some really good football. I think what's really hurt him lately is they don't have a running game anymore. Kenneth Walker's been in and out of the lineup hurt. They lost Penny early in the year, and this is an offense that needs to be a little bit more balanced. And their defense was playing really well in the middle part of the year when they got off to that 6-3 start. They have not played well the last 3 weeks, giving up a lot of yards on the ground. So I think if Pete can get that defense back up to speed and they get their running game back going again, Geno is definitely good enough to lead this football team because he's accurate with the football. He can run it when he needs to. And he just has a really good arm, a lot more underrated arm than people think. And he's just gaining confidence in this offense the more he's in it.
What do you make of Brock Purdy for the Niners? So you're talking about the last player taken. So because of different reasons, you went to Canada, came here, but you know very well, if you look at the Niners, George Kittle was a 5th rounder. Elijah Mitchell was a 6th rounder. Jennings, the wide receiver, was a 7th rounder. So they've hit the Seahawks dynasty. Richard Sherman. There's guys all over the face of the earth that go undrafted and can play. Is Brock Purdy just a cute story, or when you watch him, do you see something as a starter?
Well, I watched him play a lot in college at Iowa State, so I know that he can play. He was just undersized coming out, and I think that's what hurt him in the draft. And doesn't have a howitzer for an arm either, but he's very effective. He moves around very well. And in this San Francisco offense, the quarterback doesn't have to be dominant as far as throwing the football. Jimmy G's not that way, and Purdy's not going to be that way. They don't ask him to do that. They're going to run the football effectively. Kyle Shanahan's going to dial up plays to get guys open, and the ball is never going to go really down the field that far. So as long as he can make the right decisions, get the ball to the right playmakers, I think he can be very effective in this San Francisco 49er offense.
So, it's interesting, and this could be total coincidence, but Lamar is hurt. Kyler's hurt. Jalen's hurt. Trey Lance got hurt running. Zach Wilson runs too much. He's been hurt. Now, Matt Stafford doesn't run. He's hurt, but he's also older. Josh Allen runs way too much for my taste. He hasn't been hurt, but he's also 6'6", 260. So I remember, it's interesting, Warren, because you're an interesting guy here. I watched you in college. You had one of the best runs of my young childhood against Washington State in an Apple Cup, I remember very well, in a driving rainstorm. But you really took great pride to sit in that pocket and throw darts. When you do have the ability to move, and you did, there was something with you that said, no, I'm sitting in this pocket throwing it. You did not have to. Is it hard? Because I look at this, and maybe it's a coincidence, but man, we got a lot of guys that can moving, and getting banged up. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's hard when you have that extra dimension and not want to use it all the time. But I think the smarter these guys get as they get into their careers, they'll understand that I can't take this many chances with getting hurt and not being available for my football team. And that's what happened to me when I got to Houston. I remember I was scrambling one time down the sidelines, and I'm trying to tiptoe down the sideline to get a couple of extra yards. And Donnie Shell, the all-pro and Hall of Fame strong safety, he tagged me right in my hip and gave me a hip pointer, and I almost missed the next week's game. And from that point on, I said, I'm not scrambling anymore unless I really have to. And if I do, I'm going to be smart about it and get down on the ground and get out of bounds when I need to. So these young guys, they have all this athletic ability, and I think they want to use it. But I think they're going to see as their careers advance in the league, they can't take as many chances because they're going to get bounced around. And Josh Allen is going to be the same way. You look at what happened to Cam Newton in his career. He was a big, strong, physical guy, but it just over time wore him down to the point where he's 32 years old and he's out of the league. So these guys have to be much more smarter when they run the football. Use that gift when you need to, but don't overuse it.
So when I watch that Patriots backwards lateral stuff, do you think players made that up on the go? What do you make? Would a player have the guts to do that? Do you think that was planned? What do you make of that?
I hope it wasn't planned. They do have plays where you plan on if it's the end of the game, you're behind, and you're just going to try and get the ball down the field any way you possibly can with laterals, and that's actually practiced. But in this case, they weren't behind in the game. It was a tie. They could have went into overtime. I just think it was a bad decision by one player that ended up being a bad decision by two players, and they ended up losing the football game. And you can try and blame it on the coach because the coach could have just said, let's kneel down here and get the game over with instead of running a play at all. But you should hope your players are smart enough not to know to lateral the ball. And you saw it last night in Green Bay. They got an interception, and the guy lateraled the ball last night.
Yeah, crazy.
Most things aren't taught, but I don't know why instinctively these players want to try and make these quote-unquote Sports Center type plays.
Yeah, no. But can you imagine if you'd have done that with Don James?
I'd still be running. I'd still be running.
He's in Seattle. It is snowing in Seattle. It does not snow in the city very often. It doesn't stick when it does. Is it sticking?
It's sticking, and that's the important thing. It doesn't matter if it snows and doesn't stick, but it's starting to stick now. And Seattle has a lot of hills, so you don't want to be stuck on one of those hills with this snow.
Good seeing you, Warren. Appreciate it. The Hall of Famer. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.